Let's make our environment conducive for business to thrive. Good afternoon and welcome to Business News on RSTV, Channel 22 Port Harcourt. I am Catherine Ago. The Minister of Transportation, Muazu Ojaji Zambo, says the federal government is committed to ensuring that the well-being of her citizens will not. The minister made this remark at the Nigerian Railway Corporation Eastern District, Port Harcourt, during the inspection of rehabilitation Port Harcourt with and there today.
Who was his ministry? Management of China Civil Engineering Construction Cooperation Nigeria Limited at the Port Harcourt International Airport, Omagwa. Muazu explained that transportation is one of the bits development and not noted started Mara University each regional of the country, as well as boost cultural development area. Explains to cover over 2,000 kilometers and charge is their to delay time.
So Port Harcourt construction is in continuation of my inspection visit of all the railway projects across the country. It's linking the two ports to Medugu. Also, by the passenger train, it will go the effect of
construction station Kugam Rivers
Has digital bed the period the be general as is Nigerian communications social inclusion present by May this year attribute digital finance by the government in to financial inclusion government comes infrastructure the financial because of the telecoms in bank monetary for September noted in with the children and to the extreme small and 6 back household thank of on a high in and 3 in 2010 it is 300 and the slow and absolute poverty and Africa association warrant none of the introduce concrete roads will raise the price of cement to 9,000 naira per bag from the current price of 5,000 naira. It also called on the current administration to permanently address the perennial cement price hike problem by facilitating larger participation in the cement industry, noting that Nigerians have no business buying cement for more than 5,600 naira per bag. In a statement jointly signed by the National Chairman, Prince David Iweta, and National Secretary, Chief Regan Ufomba, on Sunday, they commended the Works Minister position on cement-made roads, but warned of dire consequences if the supply end is more designed cement and asphalt currently transition practice in the commensurate and requisite equipment and retooling. The Nigerian Customs Service (NCS) has created a one-stop shop that removes delays leading to rejection of Nigerian exports in the international market. The new NCX Area Controller Ajibola Odusoya said the service is collaborating with other government agencies and stakeholders to boost the nation's foreign exchange earnings. According to him, this includes manufactured and agricultural products, services, solid minerals like tin, coal, columbite, others are cocoa beans, cashew nuts, raw foods, nitrogenous fertilizers, rubber and cotton, among others. Odusoya said the approval given by the federal government to export processing terminals has strategically positioned the country to optimize the benefit in the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. In the report, they have succeeded in eliminating the rejection and return of the nation's export cargo and has also reduced the cost of doing export business. Odusoya said the export processing terminals created by the federal government are one-stop shops where exporters consolidate, test their cargo into free export inspected into utilize lower at 36.847 trillion naira and 1,324 effectively compared to the 36.886 trillion naira and 395.74 basis points. The local bourse closed Friday by 0.11%, which saw investors 9 billion naira. However, the total turnover of 3.911 billion naira, 3.71 billion units worth 30 billion naira in 536 deals, higher than a total 933 billion at 47.45 billion naira that exchanged hands in 44,004 deals. Measured financial services industry chart, 7 billion shares valued 0.24 billion naira, 10,309.9%. The turnover volume actively 48 higher than equities for in price on 2 week. The in more energy, the light megawatts. He trans as review of regulation or many whose said the REA was ready to receive investors as ability to the program leveraging funding massive that deliver value for all stakeholders. The systems major projects managed financed by improved livelihoods of Nigerians, especially served and underserved rural locations. According to him, and the 1 point of solar deployed in the grid and he said and jets fund to energizing initiatives private sector $100 million and then 0.3 million interconnect as an ops commission as no to serve in 2020 if exactly guidelines WPC held in Calgary, Canada. Komolafe, represented by the Executive Commissioner Kelechi Ofegbu, represented a 74% decrease in its capital expenditure. He attributed the decline in capex of several factors, while emphasizing that regulatory uncertainty significantly impacted investments in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Komolafe further said that the prevalent situation in the years preceding the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act also affected investments in the industry. He said the other factors are the defunding of fossil fuel development occasioned by the energy transition and global call for decarbonization. According to him, most international oil companies deprioritized Nigeria in their portfolios, which led to the redirection of capex to other countries. Our business as producer and supervisor. I am stay tuned.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Foreign Tidbits here on RSTV. My name is Gugu Eyala. First, the highlights. France to end its military presence in Niger, pulls its ambassador out. And suicide bomber kills dozens, injures scores in central Somalia. Plus, woman's body found in the jaws of 13-foot Florida alligator identified. And our details of the story. President Emmanuel Macron has said France will withdraw its ambassador and end all military cooperation with Niger following a coup, saying military cooperation was over and French troops would leave in the months to come. The military junta, which seized power in Niger in July, welcomed the move. There are about 1,500 French soldiers in the landlocked West African country helping to fight Islamist militants, while the U.S. also has more than 1,000 troops in Niger, but these have not been asked to leave. The decision by Paris follows months of animosity and protests against the French presence in its former colony, with regular demonstrations in the capital, Niamey. Macron said he still regarded ousted Niger President Mohamed Bazoum, currently held prisoner by the coup leaders, as the country's sole legitimate authority, and had informed him of his decision. Niger is one of several former French colonies in West and Central Africa, where the military has recently seized control. At least 34 people died in Benin when a warehouse for smuggled fuel exploded into flames. Government officials and residents said the blaze erupted in the commune of Semekoji, near Nigeria's border, and that the prosecutor's office has launched an investigation. Benin's Interior Minister Alassane Sedo, who was among the officials that visited the scene, noted that the blaze, which sent a black cloud of smoke into the sky, shocked residents. For decades, Nigeria's subsidized fuel was transported illegally by road to neighboring countries to be sold on the black market. Reports say Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu abandoned the long-standing subsidy meant to keep petrol prices artificially low for Nigerians when he resumed office in May. That impacted the price of black market fuel smuggled over the border into Benin and other countries. Dozens in Central, an explosives-laden vehicle detonated at a security checkpoint in the central Somalia city of Beledweyne has killed at least 18 people and wounded 40 others. Authorities say Beledweyne, the capital of the Hiran region, is in Hishabelle state and has been the center of the Somali government's latest military offensive against extremists from East Africa's Al-Qaeda affiliate, Al-Shabaab. There was no immediate claim of responsibility from Al-Shabaab, which often carries out such attacks and controls parts of Somalia. The region's governor denounced a heinous act as the death toll was still being established, since the number of casualties is shocking. Government agencies and the hospital are currently examining the situation to determine the exact number of deaths and injuries caused by the blast. Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen Hassan addressed the 78th session of the UN General Assembly, stressing domestic and external funds were required to unleash Africa's potential. Demeke Mekonnen Hassan argued that the international financial architecture should be reformed with special consideration for Africa's needs and priorities, and a fast-track resolution of Africa's debt crisis and the provision of additional development finance should be top on the agenda. He urged member states to choose global partnership over geopolitical competition and voiced grave concern over the threat of nuclear weapons, calling for cooperation to ensure that new technologies such as artificial intelligence are used responsibly. On global security, the Ethiopian official emphasized the need for a system that respects the sovereignty of member states and prevents conflict. The Deputy Prime Minister hailed the Pretoria peace deal, which ended the conflict in northern Ethiopia. He called it an embodiment of African solutions to African problems, also called the reform of the Security Council an absolute necessity. Police say a 13-foot alligator has been killed after it was spotted in Florida with the remains of a woman in its jaws. A witness, Jamarcus Ballard, said he was walking to a job interview when he spotted the alligator with what initially looked like a mannequin in its mouth. Pinellas County Sheriff's Office said the animal was killed and confirmed the remains of 41-year-old Sabrina Peckham were found in the waterway. An investigation will determine the circumstances behind the woman's death. Police said deputies were called after a report of a body in the waterway. Authorities said the alligator was humanely killed and removed from the waterway before medical examiner's office is yet to determine the cause of death. The Speaker of Canada's House of Commons, Anthony Rota, has apologized for praising a Ukrainian man who served in a Nazi unit during World War II. Yaroslav Honka, 98, was sitting in the gallery and got a standing ovation in Parliament after Rota said he was a hero during a visit by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Canadian Jewish groups said it was deeply troubled that a veteran of a Nazi division that participated in the genocide of Jews had been celebrated, stressing this should never happen again. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was with Zelensky in Parliament at the time. Reports say thousands of Ukrainians fought on the German side during the war, but millions more served in the Soviet Red Army. Meanwhile, Canada's opposition conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, said Prime Minister Trudeau was also responsible for the incident, calling for him to apologize. Ukrainian military says Russia has again attacked Ukraine's southern Odessa region with a barrage of drones and missiles, leaving one person injured and port facilities damaged. Army spokeswoman Natalia Gumeyev said Russia carried out the assault with 19 Iranian-made Shahed drones, 2 Onyx supersonic missiles and 12 other caliber missiles, adding that submarine was also mobilized. She added that an Onyx missile hit an empty grain warehouse at the port and that areas of Odessa were actually destroyed. Russian forces regularly target southern Ukraine, where crucial export infrastructure is located. Attacks have increased since Moscow abandoned a landmark grain deal in July that allowed Ukraine to freely send agricultural products over the Black Sea. However, a second cargo of Ukrainian wheat arrived in Istanbul via the Black Sea through a maritime corridor set up by Kiev. Despite threats from Russia, it will attack boats entering and leaving Ukraine. Italian mafia boss Matteo Messina Denaro, who was one of the country's most wanted men until his capture earlier this year, is dead. The 61-year-old was thought to be a boss of the notorious Cosa Nostra mafia and spent 30 years on the run before he was detained in January. He was being treated for cancer at the time of his arrest and was moved from prison to hospital last month. Denaro was thought to have been responsible for numerous murders. Reports say he was tried and sentenced to life in jail in absentia in 2002 for crimes including involvement in the 1992 killing of anti-mafia prosecutors Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino, and once boasted he could fill a cemetery with his victims. Although he had been a fugitive since 1993, Messina Denaro was thought to have still been issuing orders to his subordinates from various secret locations. According to report, he fell into an irreversible coma at a hospital in the central Italian city of L'Aquila after requesting that he be given no aggressive medical treatment. Kosovo and Serbia have traded accusations over a deadly standoff between ethnic Serb gunmen and police in northern Kosovo. A policeman and 3 of the gunmen were killed during a siege of a Serbian Orthodox monastery in Banjevska village. The latest clash marks one of the gravest escalations in Kosovo for years and follows months of mounting tension between the two sides. Kosovo declared independence in 2008, but Serbia, along with Belgrade's key allies, China and Russia, does not recognize it. Many Serbs consider it the birthplace of their nation, but of the 1.8 million people living in Kosovo, 92% are ethnic Albanians and only 6% are ethnic Serbs. Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti blamed Serbia-sponsored criminals for the incursion, saying they were professionals with military and police background who were financed and motivated by Belgrade. However, Serbia's President Vučić hit back, blaming Kurti for months of provocations. A growing stream of ethnic Armenian refugees are fleeing Nagorno-Karabakh following Azerbaijan's seizure of the disputed region. More than 3,000 people have so far crossed into Armenia from the enclave, which is home to a majority of some 120,000 ethnic Armenians. They left after the government in Yerevan announced plans to move those made homeless by the fighting, warning that those who stayed could face ethnic cleansing. Azerbaijan has said it wants to reintegrate the ethnic Armenians as equal citizens. The Armenian government said in a statement that hundreds of the refugees had already been provided with government-funded housing, but has not released a clear plan of how it could cope with an influx of people. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan had announced that plans were in place to look after up to 40,000 refugees. Meanwhile, more than 140 people have been arrested